Hello and welcome. My name is Charles Kornoelje, and today I have the privilege of interviewing Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. I have written down several questions to ask you. I gave you them to you before, so you could write down some answers, correct?
Yeah, I got some here.
All right, wonderful. So let's start off. You are known very well for your advancements in mathematics, but I'm curious how it all started. Tell me a little bit about your childhood and beginning education.
Yes, I was born on the 1st of July in 1646 in Leipzig, Germany. My family was a very religious Lutheran family. This was at the end of the 30 Years' War and Germany was struggling. I attended Nikolai School as a child, but where I did most of my learning was in my father's library, where I would sit and read and learn in many different areas.
Wow, self-taught. That's quite impressive. And after Nikolai School, did you attend a university?
Yes, in fact, I attended the University of Leipzig starting in 1661.
Did you pursue any other education after that?
I applied for a doctorate of law, but I was denied at the time due to my age. But when I attended Altdorf University, I wrote De Casibus Perplexis, or On Perplexing Cases, which instantly got me my doctor's degree, and I was offered a job as a professor, which I declined.
Wow, that is still quite an accomplishment. What was one thing that you enjoyed while attending university?
I really enjoyed being exposed to some of the great minds that had worked in science and philosophy in the past, such as Galileo, Francis Bacon, Thomas Hobbes, and René Descartes. I think being exposed to these great minds greatly affected some of my later works.
How wonderful. That's really interesting. Now moving post-university, what did you work on after graduating?
Well, my first work in 1666 was titled De Arte Combinatoria, or On the Art of Combination. It described that all reasoning and discovery can be reduced to a combination of numbers, words, colors, and sounds. Today, they use this as the basis of some of the modern computers.
Wow, that's really notable. Now let's talk about the reign of King Louis XIV and the Holy German Roman Empire in the 1660s.
Oh yes, I remember. There were tensions between our two countries. The Archbishop suggested to Louis that he send an expedition to Egypt in order to reunify the church and build better relations between our countries.
That is fascinating history. I understand that you wrote on the subject of the reunion of the church. Could you explain it at all?
Oh sure. During this time, I worked on demonstrations, Catholicea. This is where I believe that the soul of a person was situated to a point. In my research, this led me to develop the theory that nothing occurs without sufficient reason. This theory was difficult for me to comprehend as I encountered problems in applying it to the idea of optics, space, and movement. I released my thoughts on the subject in Hypotheses Physica Nova, or New Physical Hypothesis, and I stated that movement depends on the action of God, as my fellow astronomer Johannes Kepler theorized also.
How profound and philosophical. Jumping ahead in time a little, in 1673, I understand that you began to pursue your own scientific studies. How did you go about doing so?
I had to find funding first. I developed a calculating machine and presented it to the Royal Society in London, which was headed by Isaac Newton. With funds, I was able to research, and in 1675, I had developed the groundworks for integral and differential calculus. I used it to work on predicting the movement of real objects by using imaginary ones.
Oh, that's interesting. We still use it to predict motion today. Now going back to calculus. Do you believe you developed calculus somewhat?
Oh, come on. Yes, of course I developed calculus. I published my works way before Newton did.
Of course. I don't know how people can say that Newton developed calculus when it's your notation we still use today.
Of course it is. That's because I did good detailed work while Newton's was sloppy and lacking in description.
How long did it take you to complete your work on calculus?
Most calculus students today won't believe me, but it only took me about 2 months to develop the theories on both differential and integral calculus.
2 months? Whoa, that's crazy. It took me way longer than 2 months to learn the calculus I know today. Anyways, what were some of your accomplishments after calculus?
After this, I accepted a job as a librarian for the Duke of Hanover, and later I was appointed to counselor. This allowed me to study and work in many different fields.
What was one of the areas that interested you the most?
I got to spend a lot of time in the local mines, and during this time I became interested in rocks. I took many observations of rocks as well as claiming that the earth was molten, and this brought me to be called one of the creators of geology.
Wow, that's really interesting. Everybody wasn't happy with you during that time though, right? Especially Newton. Were there tensions between you two?
Yeah, there was tension because Newton accused me of plagiarism. This is completely unwarranted and was a major...
That's because you didn't plagiarize! You know what? I challenge you to a rap battle.
It's
My name is Newton, calculus mastermind. If you listen to my argument, I think you'll find from this qualitative analysis, I'm the one who invented calculus. I developed the fluxions in '65, the thing that brought calculus alive. My notation has an X with a dot, something that your method had forgot. The differential is marked with an O. Next to a Y, I call that yo. I came up with anti-differentiation too, notated with an X in a box, who knew? When it comes to math, I got the power. I'll let you copy down my lines for an hour.
Notation looks like chickenpox. Why does it follow the stinky dots? Notating derivatives dry dx doesn't look near as complex. Integrals with elongated s doesn't cause as much stress. This notation is still used today, while yours was lost back in the day. Yet I was accused by you before your work was put through. Now I know that you will pine because calculus is truly mine.
All you did was publish first, and are those rhymes in actual verse? Don't you know they call me sir? From calculus work, I concur. You only fought me 'cause of Bernoulli, and I think that was a little unruly. Plus the Royal Society found you guilty. The case was wrapped up before morning tea. All of England used my notation. Talk about solidification. Your work is a clone of my calculus backbone.
Have you run out of evidence because your lines were spewing arrogance? I developed calc on my own, yet you wouldn't leave me alone. That court case was full of poo. The Royal Society was headed by you. England might have used your notation, but Europe used my creation. The mathematical community decided we worked independently. I want people to see the moral that you and I should have quarreled. We could have worked together for greatness and not have one remain nameless. Even though we may never know who truly developed calculus first, both made substantial developments in mathematics. Leibniz was the most historically significant in regards to calculus because it is his notation we still use today.
I'm Charles Kornoelje.
And I'm Benjamin Lamer.
And thank you for watching our Calc Project. Nice.